Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. Twitter, YouTube, the BSN app. Appreciate everyone joining in here on a Thursday afternoon. I got James Grande with me today. We got some NFL preseason action to break down tonight. What's up, James? Let's go. Yeah. Listen, a week ago we had the Hall of Fame game. We gave out some picks on this show that cashed, you and me both. So we're doing it again today. Why not?
Yeah, happy Thursday, Servo, as always. And I couldn't tell you one thing that actually happened in the Hall of Fame game other than, again, it was played in Canton, Ohio. I do know that there was no off-the-field altercations with Zach Wilson and any moms. I do know that.
Yeah, I don't think...
at least that was circulating in the news.
That was one of our predictions that came true. Yep. There wouldn't be any distractions there in Canton for him. I mean, one of the picks we gave out was Dorian Thompson-Robinson, his rushing yards, because I think we both said, he's a dual threat guy. He's going to be looking to run around, make some plays in the second half, and that came true. So, we'll be diving into some preseason games. We got 2 tonight, a bunch tomorrow and Saturday, but we'll be touching on at least the 2 games tonight. Some of the picks we want to give out to the people, player props, if wherever you're playing, underdog, prize picks, wherever you can find those props at. But we also have some best bets and betting picks for tonight's baseball slate. You know, a very small slate of games, kind of an ugly baseball slate, but we got to give some picks out to everyone because I know me and James both have some leans, some props, and some game picks that we want to give out. So we'll be touching on that very soon here. But yeah, let's start with the NFL preseason 2-game slate tonight. We got the Texans against the Patriots to start out, and then we have the Vikings and Seahawks. This Texans and Patriots game, first off for me, it's just the weather is going to be an issue here. It's going to be a little rainy and windy up there in New England. Might affect the Red Sox game tonight as well, but at least for this one, they're going to be playing it in some unideal conditions here. And I think, first off, I'll just throw out a bet right now. I've got the under in the first half. Under 19.5 is a bet I like in this one. I want to get your opinion on this because, first off, we have CJ Stroud going for the Texans here. He isn't – I don't think he's going to start the game, but he's definitely going to be playing in the first half here, probably early on, probably after a couple of series because they want to give Stroud a lot of looks here, see what they got. Make sure he gets his feet wet. No pun intended with the weather there. But the first half under, some interesting trends here to kind of dive into and look at here. So obviously the weather is a big factor, and I think that's going to play a part in just kind of more, the passing's not going to be great, especially early on. Stroud in his first, pro action here, pro debut. This has not trended well for recent top 5 quarterbacks drafted in the top 5 of the draft in their preseason debut. If you go back through history, and a hat tip to I think Chris Raybon over at Action Network. We like to share love across the betting industry, and he pointed out something that I kind of doubled down on and went back through history. The last 6 instances of rookie top 5 quarterbacks to be making their preseason first half debut, the under is cashed in all 6 instances. We had Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance and Zach Wilson all in 2021. 2020, no preseason for Burrow and Tua, so you can factor that out. But then before that, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold as well. So the last 6 times, this first half has gone under, sometimes due to the quarterbacks themselves just kind of making little mistakes or taking a few series to get used to things. But overall, it's just been a lower scoring game. So, just a lot of factors here pointing to the first half under here.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that that's the case. And I know, I think naturally unders in preseason look good, especially in your first half of your career. I mean, talk about probably the most nerve-wracking thing you've ever done, despite like winning Heisman's and like playing national championship games. Like all that stuff leads to one place, and it's to play in the NFL. So like, first preseason snap, first preseason series, and then like first NFL game are probably the roughest of like the most jitters you're going to have as an athlete. So yeah, I mean, I like the under, and you bring up the weather, look at you on your meteorologist ish nice and early. So we're talking preseason week 1, and you're out here reading Dopplers for the people at home. I mean, what a treat for everybody here that we have our own meteor. Yeah, I know. Honestly, nice. Adam Bernard in the background there hitting the. I quickly was listening. I don't know if you could tell by my hesitation. I was about to start lifting my headphone to see if it was raining outside. That was good. That was good. But yeah, I like the under here.
All right. By the way, the other factor to just kind of think about is D'Amico Ryans making his head coaching debut for the Texans. I feel like that might be leading to probably some more conservative play calling in the first half, or just in general, maybe some head coaching jitters of making a couple mistakes here and there. So yeah, do you have any picks for this game that you like? Player props, anything?
Yes. Yeah. So I was looking at, and I'm excited for this guy to be making his debut. We saw a year of last year's second round pick of Houston, John Mechie, receiver, suffered through cancer and was cleared to return. And now he's making his debut. I saw an underdog. We have 2 receptions and 19.5 receiving yards. I kind of like the under the receiving yards. If they're going to look to get Mechie going early, I think it's going to be quick intermediate routes, and I don't expect much, especially, it's been a long road back for him from where he was in college to, a season where he's fighting for his not even season, just life in general hit Mechie harder than it does hit a lot of people. Yeah. So I expect a slow return. I know he's looked really good in practice. He's going to be their number 2 receiver after Nico Collins, but under 19.5 receiving yards, especially with the weather playing a factor, I don't think he goes over. So I'm going to go under 19.5 receiving yards for John Mechie.
All right. Yeah, I can get behind that because that kind of falls right in line with what I'm thinking for that first half at least. It'll be interesting to see how the Texans kind of roll with things because they do have Davis Mills, who I think is going to start the game. But as I said, they're going to get Stroud in the first half for sure and get him playing time. So we'll see if, Mechie's out there with Davis Mills or CJ Stroud. Some of these, it's interesting on underdog. I'm in a state in Virginia where I can't see player props if they're available over on DraftKings or FanDuel or wherever. Which is unfortunate, but so I'm sticking for these props or underdog. It seems like you are as well, and you can find stuff on Prize Picks, but obviously shop around, try to find the best numbers. But yeah, good call on that one. The other game here, by the way, for just kind of touching more on the Patriots side of things, we'll see what they have because they have Bailey Zappi and Trace McSorley. Mac Jones probably won't play, but if you're comparing these quarterback situations, because the Texans, as I mentioned, Davis Mills, they also have Case Keenum hanging around on that roster. I feel like, the quarterback play overall for the Texans is just better. Obviously Stroud, I mentioned, might struggle a little bit, but I just like his talent over, Bailey Zappi and Trace McSorley. And then obviously Keenum, Davis Mills, just guys that have, NFL starting experience already. So, yeah, I mean it's interesting because
I can't believe you're disrespecting Servo.
Yeah, hopefully John and Pep is not watching right now, but
yeah,
the Texans are 3-point favorites overall in the game. If you are looking to bet the full game there, but I'm kind of staying away from winners and losers in this one. If you have any, by the way, if you have any picks, any bets that you want to give out to us, definitely hit us up in the chat on YouTube. tweet at us as well to give us any bets you like for tonight's preseason games, or we'll touch on tomorrow's games if you're looking ahead, Saturday as well. Looking to the next game we have today. Yeah, any more picks for this first one, or you want to touch on the second one now?
No, let's move on to the second one.
All right, yeah. Seahawks hosting the Vikings here. Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites right now. A pick I'll throw out to you guys is I like Jaren Hall, Vikings rookie quarterback, over 16.5 rushing yards over on Underdog. Similar bet that we gave out for Dorian Thompson-Robinson last week with the Browns. Jaren Hall, rookie, 5th round rookie quarterback here. It looks like he's going to get a bunch of playing time in the second half. The Vikings have Nick Mullins, who's going to be probably starting the game, playing a lot of the first half. Doubt we see any Kirk Cousins tonight. But I'm looking at Jaren Hall in this second half, and like Thompson-Robinson, he was a dual threat guy who I think is going to be looking to make plays with his legs, scramble, run out of the pocket and try to do things on his own when things kind of break down in the passing game, when some of his, first and second reads are covered. And, the Vikings are, they spent a 5th round pick on him. And this is a quarterback, they have Mullins, obviously, probably a better backup for year one here. But I think they're looking at Hall to see what they have in him for the future. I mean, Kirk Cousins is not going to be there forever. He might be gone next season. And I think they want to kind of see, give Hall plenty of run. He's getting some buzz in training camp, which is nice. But yeah, just another dual threat guy like Thompson-Robinson last week. And by the way, this rushing yards line, 60.5, is low for Hall's, rushing ability. In college at BYU, if people aren't familiar, he had at least 17 rushing yards. Obviously, this is for a full game sample size, and we're probably going to see him for a half here. But still, I think it holds true. He had at least 17 rushing yards in 16 of 22 college games over the past 2 years as the starter for BYU, averaging, about 30 rushing yards per game. And it should have been more than that, because if people don't know, sacks count as negative rushing yards in college. So anytime he got sacked, which was a few times, you get dinged for that in your rushing yards total. So that's not the case in the NFL. But I think 60.5 is a good number. I think he's going to get over this, in 2 or 3 scrambles. So give me the over here.
Has that always been the case?
Well, college rushing yards
negative. Yeah, has that always been the case? Am I just oblivious?
At least in recent memory, yeah, it's been the case for a while now. It's a weird thing because just because like of how many times you see quarterbacks running the ball. I think that's why, because it's hard to differentiate between like whether they're running it and getting tackled behind the line, or if it's actually dropping back to pass and getting sacked. It's hard to totally differentiate because there's so much of it in college. So. But yeah, it's a weird stat.
I like that, and we're both going with quarterbacks here, quarterback props in this game. And Jaren Hall is a nice. See, the problem is Kirko Chainz is going to be there forever.
He thinks so.
So jokes on you. Jokes on you. As long as Justin Jefferson's there, he's going to keep him in business.
Not if Jaren Hall breaks out tonight. We'll see.
That's yeah. True. Week 1 starter. After his 18 yards rushing, and get Servo the over tonight. I'm going on the opposite side of things. Holton Ahlers, the 3rd string quarterback for the Seahawks, undrafted quarterback out of East Carolina rather, 4-year starter, and he's a good passer. 3,700 yards in his senior year. And we saw kind of how things played out in the Hall of Fame game where, Zach Wilson played 1 series or ish, I think 2 series. He made 5 passing attempts and then passed it on to Boyle and Striefler, right? The Browns played 2 quarterbacks, Mond and Thompson-Robinson. Both they threw 30 times. I think we're going to see a lot of Ahlers tonight. Could we see a decent amount of Drew Lock? Potentially, but what have we known? Whatever we're going to see at Drew Lock is something that we've known from Drew Lock all along. He makes high risk throws, and has not been a start in the NFL because of it, right? He has one cool viral moment where he was rapping to Young Jeezy on the sidelines, but he's not a good NFL quarterback. We need to see Holton Ahlers, if history repeats itself, like Russell Wilson was a third-round draft pick that started over Matt Flynn because Pete Carroll liked him out of camp, right? So Pete Carroll wants to get these young guys extended looks in camp, and I think Ahlers is going to be on the field a lot. I think we're going over 8.5 passing yards.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too. He should be playing kind of like Jaren Hall. It'll probably be Jaren Hall versus Holton Ahlers in the second half tonight.
Yep.
So, I'll stick with the Seahawks for my last pick for this game. I also like Bryant Koback, the running back. I like his over 32.5 rushing plus receiving yards over an underdog. The Seahawks backfield right now has, just kind of looking at it, the depth chart is really injury riddled. Kenneth Walker and Kenny McIntosh both hurt right now. Definitely won't see them tonight. Zach Charbonnet, the rookie running back, just recently returned to practice with a shoulder injury. I doubt they want to get him a lot of reps tonight and just kind of, take a chance at re-injuring the shoulder. So I don't think he plays a lot. And then they have DJ Dallas, who they already know what they have in him. He's been on the Seahawks for a while. So I don't see him. Maybe he's the starting running back, but I don't think he plays a ton. And then behind him, the only running backs they have on the roster is Koback, Wayne Talapapa, and Saradrick Thompson. And both of those guys are more, kind of like, third down backs, good pass catchers out of the backfield. But Koback is the one that's kind of the main rusher, the better rusher out of the guys from college. He was a stud at Toledo last year. A little revenge game factor here, if you want to go that route. He spent last year on the practice squad for Minnesota. Did not play at all, and then now here he is in Seattle, maybe playing with a little, chip on his shoulder to prove the Vikings wrong here. But in general, I just think he's going to probably get the most rushing touches in this backfield tonight, and the receiving plus rushing yards, maybe catches a pass or two from Holton Ahlers. Why not? So, give me the over on his rushing and receiving. The revenge game preseason narrative. Why not?
I mean, that's probably the first revenge game preseason narrative drop of all time. I love it. It's great. I would love to hear like the pregame like muttering that he has, like they should have played me over Dalvin Cook. I'm better than Dalvin Cook. Like, yeah, dude, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm happy if he does think it. Like, I'm better than an 1,100 yard rusher for 5 straight seasons too. Like. I can think that too. It doesn't always make it a reality there, Servo.
Maybe he thinks he's our producer Adam Bernard saying Alexander Madison, more like Alexander Matasuck. I think maybe that's part of it, where he's like maybe he thinks he's better than Madison, who's now the starter for the Vikings, and he's like, I want to prove them wrong. So either way, these backups like Holton Ahlers, like Jaren Hall, like Thompson Robinson last week, like Brian Koback here, they're all playing for jobs, right? Whether or not it's going to be on their current team or trying to get on the roster later. So just that little motivation added to it. So they're your best bets for tonight's preseason games. If you guys want to get some dip your toes in some football, because we only got a couple more weeks and then we got some real games to bet on. So why not wet the whistle for now? And by the way, if you haven't already, go check out the Fantasy Alarm fantasy football draft guide and the fantasy football cheat sheet that we have up right now. You can get the free 7-day trial to Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription and get the draft guide and cheat sheet for free with that All-Pro sub. Just go to fantasyalarm.com/draft, but also only $26.99. But get that free free 7-day trial, and you get these draft guide and the cheat sheet for free. Cheat sheet being updated constantly with rankings, training camp and preseason updates, all the good stuff. So get on it now while you can. All right, let's talk tonight baseball games, because that's where we really want to focus on actual meaningful games being played in baseball tonight. So let's get to our MLB best bets. What's your top pick tonight, James?
So I went with a little parlay, and used the best two players from one team and their big money line, and you get plus money parlay. Dodgers run line. I said money line, but Dodgers run line plus 1.5, and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman to get a hit, and I got that at plus 130 on DraftKings Sportsbook, and it's pretty simple. Ty Block is on the mound for the Rockies tonight. Yeah. And Ty Block has been a bad pitcher his entire career. There's a reason why he has stumbled into a job with the Rockies. He's made 10 appearances, 3 starts. And you just look through like Ty Block's career, and he's been a journeyman. I mean, since 2019, he's made 4 starts. He's made 34 appearances in general, and most of them have been relief appearances. And we saw what happens when he's a starter. His last start, he got hit around by the Colorado Rockies. And comment in the chat by Mark right on cue, like here, about Clayton Kershaw. He's returning tonight.
Yeah.
So I like the Dodgers blowout. I almost went the Rockies run line tonight, Servo, is 2.5, their team total. I almost bet the under 2.5 runs. Because, they've been so bad against left-handed pitching with the exception of Nolan Jones, which weirdly enough, he's a lefty. So I almost bet the run line or the Rockies under team total, but I went with the Dodgers run line, and then Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, who's like the hottest hitter on the planet right now. I don't think Freddie Freeman's made an out in like a month. Like since the All-Star break, I'm pretty sure he has not had a multi-hit game. I mean, he's hitting .524 over his last 10 games. And then Mookie Betts against left-handed pitching, 406 ISO, 450 WOBA, just casually normal numbers for baseball players. So 1 hit a piece for those two in the run line. I like that little plus money parlay as my best bet.
I like that a lot too. I looked at Freeman and Mookie Betts props tonight for sure. Like, hits, runs, RBIs, total bases. Didn't ultimately go with any, but I like the, kind of mixing in with the Dodgers there. And by the way, to Mark Pitts' comment there about Kershaw's strikeouts, I would stay away, honestly, because as Mark points out in his 4 innings or whatever, we really don't know how many innings he might go. He might go 4 or 5 innings and that's it. Because his first game back, coming back from that long, pretty much more than a month layoff with shoulder problem, right? Or shoulder issue.
Yep.
So, and he does have a better, strikeout rate at home this year. He's been really good at home. He should limit the Rockies, as you mentioned, in terms of run scoring. But I think betting on his strikeouts is a little risky, especially looking at DraftKings. Kershaw's strikeout line's at 6.5, and the under is at -160. So kind of it looks like a lot of the money in the sports books favoring the under there at 6.5. So getting 6+ strikeouts is tough. I'd probably stay away from the Ks for Kershaw. You could easily go out and strike out like 8 or 9 though. So, but I just think it's a little bit risky.
I would say, just to add on to that, Servo, is like when looking at stuff like that, especially when a pitcher is going to be limited, and when the cherry on top is not only is he limited, Dave Roberts is his manager, who is the most micromanaging manager of all time, like in recent memory. Like you could just look through every pitcher that has thrown under Dave Roberts. It's the same thing. And if he gets in any trouble, is he even getting through 4 innings? Like, and I'm not saying he's going to, but like the off chance that the Rockies, who have a 30% strikeout rate since the All-Star break against left-handed pitching, do give him trouble. I'm not even sure. What is that? 6 strikeouts? Like, that's like, I don't know if he's even going to get enough outs at that point. So I'm probably staying away. Yeah,
and like on DraftKings, I mean, maybe it's different on another sports book, but right now, just looking at DraftKings Sportsbook, there's no line for his outs recorded for Kershaw tonight. So looks like they're staying away from that as well. So yeah, it really depends how much he's in the game. By the way, looking at, I've been betting on the Dodgers this week against the Diamondbacks, and noticed that they've been, they were in close games and they've been using some of their top relievers at the end. So those guys aren't totally available tonight. It looks like Phillips has been used in back-to-back, and maybe the other guys can be available, but they do have a lot of their longer relievers available. So like that's definitely a situation where you have to kind of consider, right. Maybe Kershaw's coming out after 4 or 5 and they were looking for, an Alex Vesia, Ryan Yarbrough, who's on the roster to eat up some innings too. So just keep that in mind. All right, my best bet tonight, I'm going with Patrick Corbin over his 3.5 earned runs tonight against the Phillies. This is I think you've said in the past, when a line is at 3.5, you kind of have to take notice because it's usually a 2.5 or lower for starting pitchers. But Corbin's a guy you can put it at 3.5 and it still is probably going to go over because he's actually coughed up at least 4 earned runs in 3 of his last 6 outings coming into tonight. On the road this year, he's got a 5.31 ERA, a 6.49 FIP on the road. Overall, he's got some bad numbers this year, as we've all noted. Anytime Corbin's on the mound, we like to target the other team. But specifically against the Phillies, if you kind of go back through, he's been in Washington for a while now, and he's had some terrible numbers against the Phillies. At Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, he's got a 7.30 career ERA. Against the Phillies on the road, and then overall in his career against the Phillies, a 4.96 ERA over 19 starts, big sample size. He's yet to face them this season, but last year he had 11.74 ERA over 4 starts against the Phillies. They lit him up every outing. And looking at further, all the BVP numbers of everyone, at least the top hitters on the roster. Harper, Bohm, Realmuto, Schwarber, Bryson Stott. They all have some really good career numbers against Corbin. So it's going to be a tough one for Corbin to limit the runs here. And the Phillies coming in just mashing left-handed pitching lately. 349 WOBA, 272 batting average, 11% walk rate over the past month against left-handed pitching. I think it's going to be tough for Corbin here. The Phillies got Mackenzie Gore, a lefty, last night for 6 earned runs. I think we're seeing 4+ from Corbin.
Yeah, I like that. Dude, he's allowed 17 road home runs in 11 starts too. And that's like he's made more home starts and has allowed 10 fewer home runs. Like,
I know.
There's one thing to suggest that it's like ballpark induced, because Washington isn't like, it's like middle of the pack in terms of pitcher to hitter friendly, but like there's definitely something to be said about allowing 17 or 10 more home runs in 1 fewer start on the road than it is at home. So I love that. And yeah, I mean, Philly, like you said, Philly's a top 5 offense in the league against left-handed pitching, and like getting hot at the right time. Castellanos double-donged last night. Trey Turner has definitely been better lately. So there's, you see 3.5, and you're like, oh, there's and to be fair, like I think last Thursday it was the Christian Javier 3.5, and I was like, there's something off about that in Yankee Stadium. Like the Yankees offense stinks, and then he got shelled early, and he went under because they took him out of the game before he could allow more than that. But like if they extended him any further, like it does make you think, like anytime there's 3.5, for like they know, like there's something about this number. So I couldn't agree more. I think Patrick Corbin's getting lit up.
Well, you mentioned his home runs on the road, and that's to tease our daily dingers coming up a little bit later. I got a home run call for the Phillies a little bit later because those road numbers in terms of home runs, but overall just coughing up a lot of runs on the road. Sticking with this game, I got a couple more picks to give out because I'm targeting a couple hitters from the Phillies as well. Yep. And looking through their, the Phillies offense hits, runs, RBIs props over on DraftKings or BetMGM. A lot of them are at 2.5, which is tough to, kind of pull the trigger to take the over there. But there was 2 that are at 1.5 that I like here. Bryson Stott and Bryce Harper are those guys. First with with Bryson Stott at 1.5 to the over, hits, runs, and RBIs, -130 on DraftKings. Stott's hitting well right now. He's been over this line in 5 of his last 7 games with a 346 batting average in this span, hitting 327 over the past month. He has pretty much the same numbers, going against lefties as righties, so that doesn't totally matter for him against Corbin here, which is impressive for a young lefty hitter. Is Stott. So I like that for him. And in his career against Corbin, I mentioned he's one of those guys with good career BVP numbers, 4 for 7 with 2 extra base hits. Small sample sizes, but last year when he faced them, he had success against Corbin. And then Bryce Harper, the other one, over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs for him. It's -145 on DraftKings, but still like it because he's been over this in 7 of his last 9 games, hitting 324 with a 972 OPS in this span. Also over this prop in 12 of his last 17 games. He's got better numbers at home this year, so that's in favor of him. And, he's got better numbers versus righties than lefties this season, but, he is hitting 274 against left-handed pitchers. And in his career against Corbin, hitting 290 in a pretty big sample size over their careers. So, yeah, give me Bryce Harper and Bryson Stott to go over their hits, runs, RBIs.
Yeah, and Corbin has been pretty good at neutralizing lefties on the year, but lately, over his last 30 days, 408 WOBA allowed to lefties. So
that's tough.
Everyone's starting to get a piece of the Patrick Corbin pie of late. And I'll just stick with this game too because I have 2 plays from this game. A little different route.
Okay.
I went stolen base props here. Now Trey Turner over half a stolen base is the first one, plus 260 over on DraftKings, which is pretty good odds for a stolen base. And I was doing some research. Rich Hill has allowed the most stolen bases this year, 21.
Okay.
Noah Syndergaard, to no one's surprise, has allowed 20 stolen bases this year. Tied for third, Patrick Corbin. This year, he's allowed 18 stolen bases on the year. Again, Trey Turner has shown signs of life.
Yeah,
right. We have had multiple hits in 2 straight. He's had hits in 6 straight overall. We've had doubles in over that span. We've had 2 stolen bases over his last 10 games. And Trey Turner is not afraid to run on lefties or righties. I mean, he is just a base stealer. And what I like about the stolen base prop here is he's hitting 6th. And sometimes when you're hitting a top of a lineup or in the middle of a lineup, you're just not so much the top, but like when he's hitting 3rd, he's not likely to run as much if Bryce Harper is hitting behind him because you want to let Bryce Harper hit. He's hitting 6th tonight. And although the Phillies have a good, a good lineup, he's going to run with JT Realmuto hitting behind him. And he's going to run with Weston Wilson is hitting behind him, right? So when Trey Turner inevitably is on, he's going to steal a bag. And on the flip side of this game, as much as big of a favorite as Aaron Nola is in this game, and he's -115 to get a win, which you don't really ever see. Yeah. Aaron Nola has not been that good this year. And he continuously gets respect in Las Vegas. And even in the DFS world, I continue to play Aaron Nola, and I expect him to be better than he has been. And he kind of continues to disappoint, right? As a Phillies fan, you know this. He has not been a guy that was projected to compete for a Cy Young this year and help the Phillies get back to the World Series. He struggled against left-handed bats a lot this year. And, he has a pretty high walk rate against them. He has a 7% walk rate. And if you look at CJ Abrams over the last month and a half, I mean, he's coming off a Player of the Month award in July or Player of the Week award in July. And he hasn't slowed down. And where he hasn't slowed down is his stolen bases. He has 6 over his last 10 games. And if you date back to the All-Star break. He has double digits just since the break. One of the top stolen base threats in the league. Aaron Nola has allowed 14 stolen bases this year. He's tied for 11th in the league. So I expect a lot of running in this game. I could see a lot of offense in this game. I was toying with the idea. This game has a 9 over under, basically a pick 'em, -112 to the over, -108 to the under. If Nola continues to struggle, like, it would not surprise me to see the Nationals run it up and see Abrams on base a whole lot tonight and just wreaking havoc on the base paths. Because again, like, as much as we think the Phillies offense is going to be great against Corbin, and we do, there's nothing really suggesting Aaron Nola is going to be the guy that Vegas wants him to be, because he hasn't been. Like, he was supposed to be that guy against Kansas City last time out, and Kansas City shelled him. And he was supposed to be his last 2 matchups. Servo, unfortunately, like, has been Pittsburgh and Kansas City, and he's allowed 10 earned runs. He hasn't made it out of the 6th, So, like, like, I mean, that's, like, not exactly the most confident thing going into a slate that you're supposed to, like, you have, like, a big betting favorite. So I like Abrams to steal a base. I like a lot of other Nationals props that I was a little too scared to go to, but I wouldn't be afraid to pull a trigger on more Nationals props.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about Nola, it's been pretty disappointing. And it's weird because some of his metrics, and career numbers, obviously, but some of his metrics this year, like his expected ERA, his FIP, all suggest he should be due for some positive regression, but it just hasn't come yet. And as you mentioned, his last 2 starts, he's got hit around. He's cost the Phillies as big favorites before, so I'd be very hesitant to bet on the Phillies as favorites. And it's interesting because the Nats just got no hit last night, right, by Michael Lorenzen. I think you could see, this offense just being a little bit more hungry to kind of get on the Phillies here. And the offense has not been, going quietly in recent games. They've been playing a lot of high-scoring games. So I looked at this over as well, and I wouldn't fault anybody for betting that. The first 5 over as well. If you think Corbin's getting lit up and Nola could run into some trouble, it is weird to see though on DraftKings. Some of the props for Aaron Nola are all kind of juiced to a good outing for him. Like his earned runs prop is favored to the under 2.5, which is at -155. His walks is juiced to the under at 1.5. You mentioned his odds to record a win at -115. His strikeouts are favored to the over 5.5. So all these, I think the sportsbooks are probably, and DraftKings specifically here are probably trying to protect themselves against Nola just kind of, putting up a dominant effort, similar to Lorenzen, I guess. But I don't know. It scares me, even as a Phillies fan. Just being honest there. On your Trey Turner prop, I love it. I looked at he was another guy. I looked at his hits, runs, RBIs, but it's up at 2.5 because of how hot he's been right now. So I'm staying away from that. But yeah, so I don't know if you noticed this. Phillies fans do have noticed this, but they returned home for their current homestand like a week and a half ago or something. And Trey Turner was struggling, as everyone knows. He's been terrible. And the Phillies fans gave him a standing ovation in that game. And on this Bettor Sports Betting show, I think with Howard, I gave out Trey Turner, his I think it was over hits, runs, RBIs prop, and it cashed because I kind of got the sense that he was going to respond well to this. And since then, he's been really, really good. So this whole homestand, and it's continued. So tonight, I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps it going. Yeah, and I like the stolen bases angle of it, hitting a little bit lower in the lineup. The guy you mentioned, Wes Wilson. They just brought him up from AAA. He's been down in the minors, and he came up, made his debut last night. Actually hit a home run in his first at bat.
He homered, right? Yeah, he homered, right?
So yeah, a little pop for maybe hit and run with him and Turner there. All right, so yeah, those are some picks for the Nats Phillies games. A lot of picks for that game. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, another pick I'll throw out here. I think we're both on. Well, actually, let me touch on the Dodgers here because I think we both want to go back to this one. You mentioned you like the Dodgers offense against Ty Block, and I'm fully on board with that. And also just liking, Kershaw back on the mound. I think, I don't know how long he goes, but I do think he's going to limit the Rockies here. So the money line for the Dodgers is very high, but I'm sticking that in a parlay with the Red Sox, which is risky because the Royals have been winning some games lately. They've been feisty, but I think the Red Sox get it done tonight. James Paxton on the mound for them. The Royals have been, they're in their bad end of their splits against lefties here. They've been a lot better against right-handed pitching. So I think Paxton, with his good home numbers as well, is going to kind of anchor that end of things. On the other side, though, the Royals have Alec Marsh on the mound, and Marsh, when he's been starting, he's been bouncing back for the bullpen and the starting games. But when he's been a starter for the Royals, they've lost all 5 games that he's been a starting pitcher for. I'm looking for that to continue here. Red Sox offense been very inconsistent. I'm worried about that, but I think the expensive money lines for both of these guys, both these teams, stick them in a parlay. I'll take that.
So I will say, the Royals announced they're going to go with an opener in front of Marsh.
Oh, they did.
Not that. Yeah, so they're going with lefty Austin Cox.
Ooh, that is.
He is going to. He's going to throw. He's going to throw 1 inning. He's gone 1 inning. He's gone 2/3 to 1 1/3 in 7 straight appearances. He hasn't been extended past 24 pitches. So they've already announced that Marsh is going to be the bulk reliever now.
I don't like that.
To settle your nerves a little bit, because they're going with the opener. The Yankees tried doing this last night with Luis Severino being the bulk reliever, and it didn't work, and he still sucked. So I expected much of the same. And I said this about Marsh when he got called up. Last year in the minors, Servo, he was 2-16 between AA and AAA. 2 wins and 16 losses between the double and AAA affiliate. And you're telling me, and wins and losses obviously doesn't tell the whole story, but you're telling me that a guy who was 2-16 in the minor leagues is going to come up into the majors and just figure it out. He had the 11 strikeout game earlier in the year, which was wild in itself, and he still lost that game in the midst of but that was when Tampa Bay was at its lowest of lows, and Wander Franco was getting benched and stuff. So that's kind of an anomaly. The Red Sox offense has too many potent bats for him, especially from the left side, and they have Trevor Story back. I'm not so worried. I did want to just add in the caveat that he's not starting, but he is the bulk man now, with Austin Cox being the starter. He's a little lefty, 3.50 ERA, but I just thought I'd throw that little tidbit in.
No, I'm glad you did, because I think it's a big factor, because listen, I've bet against some pitchers when they are used as a traditional starter. If you've been watching this show, I bet against the other day Yanni Chirinos when the Braves are using him as a traditional starter, and it's not been, when he was with the Rays, he was lights out as a bulk reliever. Maybe at the Rays it's kind of different story, but Nick Pivetta last night, it didn't totally go my way, but he's been a lot better as a reliever, a bulk reliever than a traditional starter this year. So I could see Marsh just being all right, 5 shutout innings out of the bullpen. We'll see.
Oh no! Well, I'm happy that I brought it to your attention.
No, I'm glad you did. I might have to put in another parlay of your Dodgers parlay, because I feel confident about the Dodgers. I feel good about the Dodgers side of things now.
Speaking of, I have over 2.5 earned runs for Ty Block. I mean, probably another piece you can add to your Dodgers parlay there. I mean, look, Ty Block is kind of what Ty Block is. His ERA is 4.85 this year, Servo, and that's mostly out of the pen. His expected ERA is 6.62. He has a less than 4K per 9. He doesn't miss bats. And like, you're facing the number 2 offense in baseball against left-handed pitching. Like, there's just and we know baseball is one of those things where like you can predict sometimes, like a lot of times you can predict some outcomes of like NBA games, and you can see how football games are going to play out just like based on deficiencies some teams have. And there's things in baseball that like the best players ever have are good 3 out of 10 times, right? This feels almost surefire. Like, again, never is in baseball. Baseball is the wackiest sport of all time. Yep. But like, you have a bad pitcher against a great offense against that split of the pitcher. I'm taking the Dodgers. I almost took their over 5.5 implied team runs, but instead I just went with the fact that Ty Block's going to get ripped up nice and early.
Yeah, I mean, Block allowed 4 runs in his last start to the Cardinals, so I could see the Dodgers doing something very similar or better. So yeah, I can't knock that pick. By the way, you got this in at -155, and I was looking over at DraftKings right now. It's at -170 to the over, so you got it in with some good, at least better juice there.
Let's go.
Yeah, I love that. All right, my last pick before we get to some home run calls tonight. Wander Franco from the Tampa Bay Rays, over 1.5 total bases here. Plus 100, which I was surprised to see it at plus odds because of how good he's been. He went through a lull in July, but he's picked it back up now. Yep. Over his last 11 games, he's hit safely in 10 of the last 11, and 419 batting average in this span, a 1304 OPS, 5 homers in this 11-game span. He's also got 5 multi-hit games in this stretch, and he's got Matthew Liberatore for the Cardinals here, a lefty pitcher, which is putting Franco on the right side as a switch hitter. And Liberatore against right-handed hitters, allowing a 339 batting average, a 548 slug, and Franco is hitting 316 with a 506 slug against lefty pitchers. Liberatore also on the road this year, some terrible numbers, 11.48 ERA, a 2.10 whip, a 3.50 batting average against. I don't see how Franco doesn't get over this prop. I'm surprised it's at plus odds. Maybe the Vegas knows something. Maybe he's going 0 for 5, but I don't think that's the case. So give me Franco. Give me Franco here.
Dude, I love the Rays in like every prop tonight.
Yeah,
their team totals 5.5. Their what was their first their race to 3 runs -150. I love that. Race to 4 runs -125. Like, I almost bet like Rays like run ladder because I want to believe in Matthew Liberatore. Where is the like how do you like bet on this guy? Righties 210 isolated power against them. Woba 413. It's seemingly like only getting worse. Like, you would think with the departures of who they traded away, like he finally has some relief on his shoulders. Like, I finally have my rotation spot every 5th day. I was a former 1st-round pick, and like I throw from the left side and I throw hard, and like I have this, not doing anything. And I also picked on him. I love the Wanderer call. I love Isaac Paredes tonight, over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in the middle of their order. I'm like, there is not a Rays prop, because I was looking at some hits, runs, and RBIs props. Wanderers was at 2.5. Arozarena was at 2.5. Yandy Diaz was at 2.5.
This is like with the Phillies, what I was looking at.
Yeah. And that's something you notice too, right? Like, when you look at stuff like that, it's like the 3.5 earned runs. You look at when people get 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, like, oh, they're expected to have like a huge day here. Like, this is no joke. Paredes hitting 5th tonight. He has been a lefty masher his entire career. He has, now in the year, 22 home runs and 67 RBIs. It's amongst the team lead in both those categories. Against left-handed pitching this year, 333 WOBA. Last year, 362 WOBA. And over the last 2 seasons, 232 ISO. He was my secondary home run call from the, you spoiled your home run call. I'm spoiling mine. I went with another Ray as my home run call, but he was also like right there. So I think he's just going to get it done in one swing of the bat.
There you go.
I'm going Isaac Paredes over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs.
Yeah, I'm starting to like the. I might have to do a little parlay here with the Dodgers and Rays offenses, like team totals or something, because I think that's where we're both kind of leaning here, and the Phillies offense for that matter. But all right, well, yeah. So you mentioned our home run calls for tonight, and let's get right to that. Our daily dingers for Thursday night.
And that baby is gone.
Now that's a dinger.
That's a dinger. All right. So who's this Ray hitter that you teased there?
So I don't know if you know that Jose Siri, he is. So it's Adam. Thank you for picking this picture.
Tossing the bat.
And I thank you. So he is a big bat flipper, huge bat flipper. But apparently, there's a story that came out that said he only bat flips against pitchers he thinks are racist, which I find, which is, it's kind of like, it's not funny, but it's funny. Like, it's not funny, obviously, if the pitcher is racist, but it's funny that he just like bat flips because he thinks that they are. Like, I don't think there's any background on his back flips. He's just bat flipping. I think we're getting a bat flip or no bat flip tonight because I don't think Matthew Liberatore has done anything wrong. But I think we're getting a home run at Jose Siri. He's been a huge power guy against left-handed pitching this year. 300 isolated power, leads the team by over 50 points. And Jose Siri double-donged last night to give him 23 bombs on the year. We have now seen, of those 23 home runs, as my Fangraphs closes my computer, because that's just normally how it goes, right? In just 68 plate appearances, he's already hit 5 bombs. He has a 500 slug, as I mentioned, the 300 ISO. So Jose Siri is going yard for the Tampa Bay Rays, and no bat flip tonight. But if you do see a bat flip, if you do see the bat flip, like Adam Bernard, gave us a little sneak behind the curtain, there may be something fishy going on.
Interesting. I did not know that. I did not hear that.
That might have just been like a Twitter thread that was, because we believe everything on the internet, right? That might have just been one of those things that like I got caught up in on the internet where like it's not someone just like made it up, but hey, it was on the internet, so I believe it until someone tells me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean it could be true. So who's to say Jose Siri's wrong in his thoughts? All right, well I'm going with a Philly here. I mentioned it earlier. Alec Boehm going against Patrick Corbin here. You mentioned Corbin's just allowing his home run rate on the road compared to home is very much in favor of the Phillies here, and against right-handed hitters, 22 of his 24 home runs allowed have come to righties. So I'm looking at Alec Boehm here, who's hammering left-handed pitching. 330 batting average, 594 slugging percentage, 264 ISO for him in the split. Also got a better home run rate against lefties than righties this year. And he's coming in hot, hitting 386 over his last 15 games with 2 homers in the last 4 games. And in his career, I mentioned all these good BVP numbers. Alec Boehm, 350 batting average with 2 homers in his career against Corbin. So, give me Boehm to go deep here at plus 400 on DraftKings.
Dude, he has been so good.
Yeah,
for Philadelphia ever since he gave him the middle finger.
Yeah, that was since
ever since he gave him the middle finger, and he's been so good. He's been so, especially against left-handed pitching. I'm pretty sure you've gone to this well before against left-handed pitching, and it's hit. Because you're an Alec Boehm. I mean, you're a Phillies guy, so like you like both. But I'm pretty sure you've gone to it and it's hit on this show before.
I've definitely done props for him. I don't know if I've picked him to go. Maybe I have for a home run call, but I've definitely hit on his props when he's against lefties. That's a split for sure. I target.
Okay.
Yeah, he's probably the best pure hitter in the Phillies lineup right now. I mean, he's a couple of underperforming guys in the Phillies lineup. Castellanos is heating up, but Alec Bohm is a stud. So give me him to go dedeep. All right,
400 average over his last 10 games there, Servo, just to back you up there.
There you go. I love it. All right, so those are all of our home run calls and all of our betting picks for tonight. We got Mark Pitts chiming in again on YouTube. Castellanos getting hit another purely because last place in home run. John Peppa dropped him. Oh, he's talking fantasy here.
Yeah, we're all in I'm in a fantasy league with Mark and John,
okay.
And John dropped Castellanos and has ranted for the last week about he dropped him amidst that 1 for 40, and then Castellanos has hit 5 home runs in the last week. So John's in last in home runs in the league, so he's a little salty about the drop.
Listen,
there.
I almost picked Castellanos as another home run call because he just hit 2. He hit those 2 yesterday, but I'm like, I don't know if he's going to do it again tonight, but I could definitely see him.
He's doing it for John. He's doing it for John.
Rough look. All right, well, we got to get out of here because coming up next, you and John are doing the Quick Pitch MLB DFS live show, so everyone stay tuned for that at 5 Eastern here on Bettor Sports Network to get your DFS lineups in for tonight's slate. 7 p.m. Eastern, we get the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show with Eric Balkman, and then 9 p.m. Eastern, the Dynasty Nerds with Garrett Price. So tune into those football shows while you're watching your preseason bets cash. Appreciate everyone tuning in here as me and James gave out some NFL preseason bets and some MLB bets for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern here on Bettor Sports Betting. So tune in then, and we'll give some more preseason and baseball picks out for you guys. Appreciate everyone tuning in here, and we'll see you later.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.